I am Dave Henning with the Fresh Start Podcast, fresh ideas for business and personal growth. And today I'm with David and Cindy from Michigan, beautiful Michigan. Love it.
Beautiful.
Welcome, guys.
Yeah.
Good to see you. Welcome. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you. Thanks
Thank you,
for
sir.
having us.
So I want to ask right off the bat, David, you wrote a book. How did you get the knowledge to write? And what's the name of the book?
The book is called I'm Not Flipping Burgers When I'm 70.
Oh, sweet. I love that. What a great title.
Yeah, I think the title is probably the best part. That's a good question. Basically, I didn't really have a background. I was just always good with money. And I kind of watched my mom, but I just paid attention. So I would just help people on the side. And actually, I believe it or not, there was this guy in my cubicle sections. He was paying like interest only on his second mortgage, something crazy. Back in the day, you could do more of that with, right? And I'm like, no, you don't want to do that. And he's like, why? And I'm like, and then the light bulb went off. And so I just started putting together what I thought would be something more of an instructional, because I was so used to presenting with PowerPoints and whatnot. I basically built a textbook and didn't know it. And I was told once it was published that if I made it into a textbook, I might be living in Costa Rica 20 years earlier than this, right? Like you. Because I would have made so much money on it. But I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing. I never wrote a book. It was a small publishing house, but it was legitimate because it's very hard to get published. And so I was just excited. I was in my mid-30s. But what I did do, certainly a lot of research. I definitely referenced anything that I found, but a lot of what I put out there was from the IRS or the government or something like that. And that's where I started to really learn to know these things. So I didn't have to go necessarily talk to other sources to go figure this information out while managing my own money anyway. So that tandem allowed me to put it together. And I just, that's pretty much the story. And it's very in-depth and instructional. I go to the depths of explanation that people probably don't even need. But I'm always like, if I'm going to give you math, I'm going to give you down to the penny as to why. And there's a bunch of graphs and tables. And so pretty much if anybody follows what I do or give to them, they succeed. So that's the winning goal of it. That's what makes me feel good. And that's why I did it.
That is excellent. That's a great title, number one. But number two, I actually used to have my mortgage license, and that kind of became somewhat worthless after 2008 with the big balloon mortgage scandal. So interest only mortgages. I'm very familiar with some people that tried that. So I want to hear the name of that book again. I just love it.
I'm Not Flipping Burgers When I'm 70.
I might be flipping burgers. I used to have a hot dog stand, believe it or not, for charity. One of those stainless steel things with the umbrella, and I was cooking hot dogs with Pabst Blue Ribbon beer and butter, and hot dogs and chips and Coke, and then I made these Coca-Cola onions where you'd caramelize onions in Coca-Cola, and man, it was a huge hit. And the nachos and cheese. And I had a line from here to here down the block with people that just thought it was so cool. The Chamber of Commerce would have a Friday night concert, block off a street, and one night they'd have a blues band, one night a rock and roll band, a jazz band, and I was the only food vendor. They were selling the beer and the wine, and it was just a blast. Free music and just having fun. Cash business.
That sounds amazing.
With the PBR. There you go.
That sounds like my dream dinner. That might have to be tonight.
So you might be cooking hot dogs or hamburgers when you're 70 if you want to. It's your choice. But what a great idea for a book, though, because the interesting thing about books is I just interviewed a guy from Houston. He just wrote a 120-page little kind of a manual type of a book. And what he does is he just offers like the first chapter for free to see if you're even interested. And then he's got a link straight through to Amazon or wherever to get the rest of the book. So it's feeding funnel for him to kind of filter out people who want to work with him and so forth. So I think you made a really good choice, and it makes sense to me that you've got the book out there. It's published now, correct?
Oh yeah, it's been out for 15 years.
Oh, well, now you can do the updated version and resell the same book.
Yeah, that's pretty much true. I updated it, made it like a nonprofit type of website so people could go there and read it. And I did 5-6 years ago, I was starting to do instructional videos, which the quality wasn't great at the time, but it was kind of pre-podcasting, and maybe Cindy and I was onto the game, but we weren't quite there. I wish we would have started it 5 years ago instead. But yeah, actually, Cindy and I are going to work on a book right now to get it out in the next year that might take some of those principles, but more of a philosophical, like emotional understanding of finance and relationships. So there's something in the works.
Excellent. And you have a blended family, as we spoke before, and the success of your marriage and raising kids in a blended family. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll comment on that. Typically, so many people say, I don't think I could ever take another person's child and raise them or love them as much as I do my own. And I'm here to debunk that. And I can tell you, the minute David and I met, and our story is long and funny, but at the end of the day, when we blended the family, it was an instant connection for everybody. It was, I hate to sound so cliche, but I think it was just truly meant to be. And as it stands, our kids, his biological and my biological daughter, just both graduated college at the same time, and they didn't want to come home so bad they moved in together in a house in Grand Rapids.
Wow.
with another roommate. So that's how close they are. And I think, the one thing that we did, Dave, is we just made sure that we stuck together as a unit. Every child came into that a third. There was no favoritism. There was no, everything is equal. I love, my Chase, my stepson, like the only thing I didn't do was give birth to him. So, and frankly, when I met his mother, I said, I will love him like he's my own, but he's your child, and I will never disrespect that. And to this day, I have nothing but respect, because she was a part of the, the whole mold of him. So anyway, I mean, I think we always ate dinner at the table together, which is one thing we've talked about and very proud, is that we had conversations and we had cohesiveness, that we were not all over the place with sports. Our kids were little when they got together, and that's the one thing. You get a sport, but we're going to attend each other's things and cheerlead the other on. And I think so many people walk through life and the husband's over here at the hockey rink and the wife's over here in the soccer field. And then all of a sudden the kids are gone and they're looking at each other like, what do we do now?
Yeah.
We don't do that. Our kids still come home and eat dinner with us, and they're adult children now. So
well, and that, as a matter of fact,
we can't get rid of Haley.
Yeah. Well, with our podcast, we built a custom studio recently to go to video, so we're transitioning to some more outreach and growth. But Justin, her biological, and his girlfriend, they produce it, so it's a real legit show. Haley at college got an internship to do social media, and Chase does video editing and technical work and things like that. And so we're all a team. We all actually are growing and doing this together. So it's really rewarding to. I thought it was cool when they played softball with us in a co-ed game, but this is like a little bit better that they're a part of this deal, so they get to help make decisions and be a part of this where we're going. And we would never have gotten to where we are as fast, or where we can go without them, because it's a lot of work, as you know, Dave. It's very rewarding that they want to do that and be a part of our life. So that makes you feel good as a parent that you must have done something right.
And, no kidding. And they're willing to be unpaid staff, which is great.
For now.
Yeah.
We're doing the unpaid internship at the moment.
Yeah, no, I get it. Well, that is totally refreshing, quite frankly. I was never into calling our kids step this or step that. They're just never, yeah. Just blended. Yeah. As long as they can blend me like
my daughter, my son.
Yeah.
Blend me like a Mai Tai.
I knew that was coming. Yeah.
Sometimes you have to clarify who's who, but other than that, I think the other point I would make maybe on this topic is that I had a majority of the custody, which is not normal for a man. And I was told I might have been the only guy in the county at the time by somebody from the court, and Cindy had custody. So it was a natural understanding of, I understood what it was like to kind of from the female side, because it was always the women that had the custody and the burden, maybe didn't make as much money, were saddled with more, problems or debt per se. So when I met Cindy, I'm like, well, all my friends are women, because that's just the way it is. I don't hang out with any guys. I don't even have any guy friends for the most part now, unless with their couples, because my background was with the women, and then we moved on and did our lives, and so we have couples as friends, and so I don't really have that history anymore with guys. But it did help to, I think, blended together because we both understood what it was like and didn't have to just really delineate or have to worry about moving the kids around too much between another to the divorcees on the other side.
So it's okay if I call you Mr. Mom.
Yeah.
Okay. How would you like a little trim on that mustache, Ron?
No, I mean, I think that's the one thing that when I met David was super attractive to me is, he understood what it was like to be a single parent, truly. So, and very rarely do men have full custody, primarily of their children. So I knew he had, I mean, of course I Googled him to make sure he wasn't a serial killer as soon as I found out or realized I liked him a lot. And then saw that he wrote a book on personal finance. So better yet, or maybe not better yet in my case at the time. But anyway, it made him stand out in a crowd. I'll tell you that much.
Tell me again, you're involved in what kind of a company?
I'm in wealth management. Correct.
Well, yeah.
So I'm a COO for an independent wealth management firm. One of the top in the country, number one in the state. I'll refrain from saying where I work, but ultimately, and only for compliance. If I say it, then I have to report it.
Right. I know all that.
Very, very compliant industry. So, and I do a multitude of things on the team, but one is corporate compliance for our team. So it's hairy right now with the SEC and FINRA regulations and all the Reg BI stuff going on. But I've been doing this for 30 years. And so that was one of the things that when David and I met was the catalyst for my life, being cohesive with somebody that loved that industry, but also knew the budget and personal finance and shared the love of it. I wanted to do it from the day I graduated high school. And so here I am 30 years later. I hate to admit it. I know I'm only like 25, but.
But she ascended. So when I met her, I'm like, they're starting to respect women a little bit more in your industry. You have all this knowledge and experience. You're very well respected. And even though finance is everywhere, it is a small knit community in a lot of ways, because Cindy has a lot of trails from people that reach out to her and she hasn't seen them in years. And usually when you leave a job, no one cares. Well, they care when Cindy's gone. And so I'm like, you're just not reaching your full potential. Like you got to work for a living. It's a demanding business. So why wouldn't you get more out of it from a leadership and a pay standpoint? And so she trudged through management, which is a pile of crap, to be honest, for a couple of years. You got to trudge through, you got to earn your stripes, but she did. And then she got to a point where she was leading, I think 80 people at one point. I don't want to speak for her, but something like that and then she reached where she could go, and she asked it to go other places, and she didn't get what she wanted. So she branched out to where she is today, which really leapfrogged her into another spot. So, coming from her background of just, some college and so all the things she's been through to break the glass ceiling and be a COO is probably the number one thing we worked on in our entire relationship, I think, is her career more than other than the kids. That was the one thing, because you do that more than anything else you do in life. So you're going to spend the days doing it. You should get the most out of it.
Man, I'm taking you out to dinner and drinks tonight, baby.
Drinks are on Dave.
Yeah, that's right.
Drinks on Mama tonight.
The check is in the mail.
Yeah, I mean, and I think the probably the dichotomy of all of that is I was truly a broken dog beaten dog when I met David. So I came from a very dark place in a very bad marriage I didn't know if I was going to get out alive, frankly. And so when I got out of that, I always steeped myself into my life and my career, but never felt the confidence that I could move forward, just because I was trying to just fill the backspace of everything that had happened to me personally. So I would say I champion myself and our team, and we're a team, is overcoming a lot after that, because those wounds are deep and scars are thick from that.
Yeah, that is so beautiful, really, because especially now with last year, so many people have got scars, really, and stuff going on, and not good things going on. And so, somebody told me that the pain will heal, but the scars still show, and they're still there. Do you feel like you're at a new place now, that you really feel like mentally and internally that you feel better about yourself and where you're at right now? And of course, your marriage sounds fantastic, and I didn't see about 60 Minutes yet or anything.
Right. No, I think I had a very big, I'm never getting married again. I'm never going to be around. I don't need anybody. We dug out of a very deep hole. I mean, I was homeless. I was bankrupt. I had a, car I got that I had to pay 16% interest on. I was paying child support. I was paying alimony. I wasn't getting child support. He disappeared every single day except for knocking on my door looking for his alimony because he didn't want to work for the man, kind of thing. So it took a long time. So I think, that's gone most days to the back of my head, but there's still, people. I'm not the only one in life who has had stuff. And I think, this last year probably brought out a lot of pain and trauma for people that didn't expect it through Corona, and basically I was in the same boat. And I got hit by a car in 2009, 2 years ago, the year prior, leaving my office. I walked out and a car came and took me out crossing the road. So 2019 was a year of digging out of a mental state and surgeries and 20. And then 20 that, so it's been a rough go. And there's people who have it a lot worse than me. I appreciate that. But I always say this, your pain is your pain. If you have, a trauma that's this big and somebody has one this big, it's still your trauma. It's still your problem. It's still your emotion that you're trying to deal with. And I don't discount that in anybody. I'm grateful for what I have and that I'm alive, frankly, twice now from two very bad situations. But as you can see, my husband's amazing. So
I'm so impressed with you guys. So I'm just curious, what were the sports that your kids chose?
Well, Justin was in hockey for a long time, and
I love hockey.
Hockey's cool, but hockey's very time consuming and costly, but it wasn't money, but it was the principle of, got to a point where I don't know if he was good enough to keep going to go anywhere with it. And then this is when I came along, and then Haley kind of was in the back seat a little bit for a while, did some things, but didn't really get to hit any passions. And just kind of, right. But she got in the dance even more later, but we basically said to Justin, like, we got to cut the cord. And he was not happy with that. Understandably, it's his love. But what it did do, it gave him a good mental state to body check and have a good shot. So it got him on the lacrosse team in high school. And then he had a D2 scholarship. He went there for a year, but he was able to use it for something else. And then allowed Haley to get into dance. And so she did that as a hobby and also into theater. So she was in a lot of plays through high school. And then Chase was he's a really, really good guitar player. So he had lessons going. And then he also had golf lessons for a number of years. So he finished out those two things. But overall with those sports, well, at least what I told him is like, you can always play a guitar and always golf. Between the two, you'll have no problem finding a girl. So, right? You can play guitar, you can look like a doormat. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, right.
Someone will listen and someone will stay by your side. But I think between all of it, it just wasn't over demanding with the sports. So we were able to enjoy each other's things and they were all different. So I think that made it really cool.
Yeah. And there's something about, as you implicated, there's something about having that in your background that can lead to something else and lead to different things and better things. And it's not like you lose all that history, but all of that plays a part in who you are and who you become as an adult. And it sounds like it's so cool that they're all roomies now together. And
Go figure.
How cool is that? Yeah, I was into the financial services as well, mainly life and health and retirement type products. And So I had all that compliance stuff with 29 different compliance ideas from different insurance companies prior to 2008, when everything like poof, poof.
Poof, yeah. Oh yeah. And I think my house was at 85 or 90% loan to value. And that was not my choice. That was behind my back. And so I was left with a very big mortgage. And basically the mortgage, the loan was privately held. So unbeknownst to me. So when I tried to refinance and work that loan magic, they're like, sorry, the private owners won't do it. So I lost my house. I mean, I was homeless with 2 kids at that point.
Wow.
So it was that 2008 hit hard.
Yeah. What else would you like to share with me today? I'm really fascinated about your story and the what I call your adventures of getting together and building a family unit and having the cooperation that you have amongst the kids. What stands out most to you? What are you most grateful about?
I mean, I could answer that, but go ahead, David. You look like you're going to, I think, just finding, making sure that you're both on the same page. And that's what we've done. That I think what stood out is, the family unit and making sure that, we're all money. So our podcast is money. Everything we do is money and personal finance. But I think the understanding and not keeping secrets and really validating each other's life and personalities, because we're 2 very different people. And so it's, I think just validating each other throughout life. And maybe that's what people fail to do is things change, life changes. This has been a tough couple of years for, good year and a half for everybody. And I hope everybody digs out okay. I mean, especially being in finance, this has been a rough road and a good road for some. So we flourished at points in the market last year, almost embarrassingly. But this year, not so much.
I wish I would have bought some Zoom stock.
Oh yeah. You know what you should buy is some cybersecurity stock now, because that's the next most prevalent, part of what people are going to be, phishing and security breaches just out of.
Well, I had that one holding. I've had that one holding, and geez, I think I made 6 times my money in 3-4 years on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Zoom was relocated right down the street from me in San Jose, where I lived in California.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. I drive right by them almost every day when I was down that way. And I was actually in the cybersecurity insurance business last year. Anyway, it's all good. But what I want to ask you though is where do you see yourselves going forward now? What's your vision for what you'd like to accomplish and touch the world with your information and help people?
I'll answer that, I guess. And you can jump in. Excuse me. What we're doing with all of this is we didn't know we would be as successful as we were with the podcast. Well, we didn't do it just to make one. With a podcast, I don't think you should start it as a business unless you have like backing from a company or something. You should just treat it as a business because most people will fail and it's hard to make money. And our mission was to give back. And so now that the kids are involved, we want to turn it more into the other side because we want them to make some money and learn. So that's why we build up the studio and gone to video now. And so all of our social media posts will be mainly video along with hitting YouTube and TikTok and all these things that we have to do. And then we're building out merchandise. I redid the whole website. What has updating education. It's kind of like this tier of video, audio, website, and then we'll work on our book. And ultimately, we don't know exactly because I don't know that her and I will ever retire. We'll just stay busy doing something we want to do. And we could pretty much retire now, but we have some years to go and some things to prove. But ultimately, we would like to go hit the road and go teach this education in businesses and high schools and colleges and maybe get in a van and go across country, for parts of the year, like a cool Mercedes, whatever they call those things, deck it out.
The conversion vans.
Sorry. And then, just spread the word and get around and move around. So, I don't know how long where that's at. We're just kind of building this resume now. We're in year 2 starting. And so we're not rushing. We're doing it progressively, but I think we have a lot to say. And I think the husband and wife and the chemistry and our story and our experience, I think it's enough that once we get it into place, I think we can make it happen. And so that's why we're going to carry forward with it.
Fantastic. Well, I'll keep you informed because I'm hoping to have some kind of executive retreats down here on the Pacific Coast in Costa Rica, and invite some people down for an exclusive training for different speakers in different qualified areas where we can help people and, like you say, give back. And at the same time, generate something with it. So we'll keep you informed on that kind of stuff. So it's kind of a nice location for kind of an exclusive retreat for people, and to have a great webinar weekend, long weekend down here at the beach.
We would take you up on that. I will talk personal finance all day long on the beach with you.
Absolutely.
How can I help you? Well, I'm done picking my nose here. Sorry. It was itchy. It was itching. I swear.
I've needed to itch my nose.
What did Seinfeld say in Seinfeld in an episode? He said, it's not a pick. It's not a pick.
Right.
How can I help you? Do you have a website that I can direct people to?
Yes. You can go to somethingonmymind.net, and then the podcast is there. The blog transcripts are there. I add a blog post for education, and I put my first 10 chapters of the book. It's all kinds of stuff that I keep adding to. We're on all social media platforms, TikTok and Instagram or somm.podcast. And then pretty much any streaming app for the podcast, you can find it anywhere. So we're all over the place. Yeah.
The one thing, if your listeners tuned into the podcast, we talk finance, but we make finance fun. And so it's very loose. We've, kind of developed the format from being kind of structured in the beginning to really realizing if we talk and share, maybe it'll just be a little bit more relaxed and less stringent. But we have a round table and anything goes on that. So we are an adult podcast. So we don't get too dicey, of course, but we say we like to make finance fun. And so that's what we set out to do. And I think we're doing it and we'll continue to. Would love to join you there.
I absolutely love your approach on that. Yeah, if you can keep it light and interesting and fun, I think that's a very attractive feature for sure. And this has been a fantastic conversation today. I really appreciate you guys. One last question. What was your very first job when you were a kid?
I worked for a Greek restaurant owner, and I swore I would never work for a Greek, marry a Greek, be friends with a Greek. And as it turned out, I quit I was patronizing his restaurant off the schedule. He started yelling at me. I'm like, I'm done with Greek people. My ex-husband was a Greek. And then when I met David, he said his name was Malonis. And I'm like, I'm out. I can't, that's Greek. I'm out. So the Greek restaurant owner scarred me for life, but David's a Greek hillbilly, so we're good.
How old were you at that?
I was 15. I was being dropped off there. So
okay, gotcha. Yeah,
hostessing. I think
I
cleaned houses. I'm a cleaner, so any neighbor that wanted their house clean, the dirtier the better. I would go in.
Gotcha.
The funny thing is, our house is a total dump.
No.
I worked my way through college as a school janitor before I got my big radio break gig show.
There you go.
Were you the guy in the Breakfast Club? Were you the janitor there?
Yeah. How'd you know? And what was your job, David? First thing you ever did as a kid?
First thing, I stocked produce about 3:30 in the morning, maybe a mile away from my house. My brother did it with me. For that summer. I was 14 in March, but in that summer, a freshman, that's what I was doing. I remember my mom would leave us something to eat and a couple of no-dose pills on the counter.
Oh my God.
And it's like you're stocking produce and there's nobody around just listening to music. And I'm like, even at 14, I'm like, why am I here? Like, what did I do to deserve this? And then I would come home just so tired. And then I would fall asleep to Days of Our Lives. And then but I knew everything about the show. And then I woke up and I And then it's like 2:00 and it's like, okay, I'm ready to go. But like, you have to be ready to work at 3:30. So yeah, that was
crazy.
That was not fun. And oh, by the way, one last thing. I did take DNA tests and it turns out I have no Greek in me. So
yeah. So
all right. Aha.
That's why we're still together.
Aha.
Someone slipped one past the goalie, Dave.
Well, I used to have a carpet cleaning business, and I hooked up with this restaurant, Greek restaurant I like to go to, called Dickity's Restaurant in Charlotte, North Carolina. And Father Theo was a Greek priest, and he was go back and forth to Greek and bring kids over and sponsor them in college or whatever. But the deal was I had to show up when the restaurant closed, maybe about 11 o'clock at night. He says, get here at 10. He'd cook me a steak. I'd have a full meal. And then this elderly guy would help me move tables and stuff. I'd clean the carpet.
Wow.
And about 2 a.m. or whatever, we'd sit down, and then he'd bring out the dessert and the dessert wines. And then I'd drive home.
Wow.
And yeah.
That is not the Greek restaurant owner I worked for.
No.
You got traditional European. They like to keep it going for a while.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
And I love Greek people, so don't get me wrong.
I understand. And ironically, when the restaurant burned down, they were mysteriously able to save all the liquor.
I bet they were. Wink.
Go figure.
Wow, how about that? Well, this has been absolute delight, guys. Thank you so much. I'm Dave Henning with the Fresh Start podcast, Fresh Ideas for Business and Personal Growth. And my guests have been David and Cindy, the financial wizards that I want to get to know really good. Thanks, guys, for being here. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.